Well, what have we here? 50 attorneys generals launch antitrust investigation into Google. Dun, 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 dun. A coalition of 50 attorney general will be investigating Google for potential violations of antitrust law, a step that could potentially lead to a broad legal challenge to the company's market dominance. Oh, yeah. It looks like something's coming down the track, and it ain't looking to do anything but mess with you in a big way. Hello, and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel, where the party is just getting started. Current events looked at through a skeptical eye using science, history, and sometimes humor to explore the events of the day. Let's get down to business. So Texas is leading the other states. All the states are participating except California and one other, because of course Silicon Valley is in California, and California has issues. It has a lot of issues. It's a sanctuary state after all, and therefore following the rule of law, it's not really on the top of their list of things to be done. The probe will focus on Google's dominance in the online search and advertising markets. This investigation is not a lawsuit. This is an investigation to determine the facts, and right now, we're looking at advertising, Paxton added, but the facts will lead where the facts lead. That is always the official opening of a can of worms, good or bad, and often it's bad. And while taking a look at Google and Facebook, which they're also looking at, is a very good idea because of the monopolistic methods they've taken, just the whole can of worms is just annoying. Congress is there to make laws and pass laws, and attorneys generals, I guess their job is to do this kind of thing. Can of worms is just bad. That's why they say can of worms, because the only people like can of worms is fishermen, and they love can of worms. But the world is not made of fishermen. The world is made of lots of people. Diversity. So they just started out with the search, and they're not willing to say if the companies have violated any laws. See, and that's another thing. While I support this action, the idea that they're going after them without any, proof of broken laws, when the government and law officials say, no, we have to look to see if there's proof. Dude, that's like being pulled over in your car and them saying, yes, we just pulled you over because we want to see if we can find any laws that you're breaking. It really is the same thing. We don't like the way that your car looks. We don't like the way that you look. We don't like the way that you're staying in the lines. When asked for comment, a Google spokesman pointed to a blog post published by Kent Walker, the company's chief legal officer, on Friday, after it was revealed that the DOJ had sent Google requests for records. We have answered many questions on these issues over many years in the United States, as well as overseas, across many aspects of our business, so this is not new for us, Walker wrote. And for the record, they're also on record for lying their little patuskis off in those question-answering situations. The DOJ has asked us to provide information about these past investigations, and we expect state attorneys generals will ask similar questions. I wonder if they'll lie again. We have always worked constructively with regulators, and we will continue to do so. Notice I didn't say that we've always worked to tell them the truth and to do our best. No, constructively. Yeah, they're building a house of cards. The state attorneys general sent their own records request to Google on Monday, which they said focused solely on advertising. Google is not the only company in the state officials' crosshairs. No, they're going after Facebook too. A smaller group of attorney generals led by Democrat Letitia James of New York announced a similar probe of Facebook's market power on Friday. Facebook also revealed that it's facing an antitrust investigation from the FTC. Well, of course they are, though I'm not sure what theirs would be. I know in Google's case that anytime somebody comes up that looks like they'll be a competitor, I guess Facebook's done this too, because Facebook bought Instagram. Yeah, but the point is they keep buying everybody. If anybody gets anywhere close to the starting line that they might cause the tiniest of problems, they buy them out. They straight up buy them out. That's why there's so many fake companies in Silicon Valley, is they're hoping to be the next one to trick Google into thinking they can cause pain and therefore get $2 billion buyout, even though there was nothing behind the curtain, nothing at all. Google is no stranger to antitrust scrutiny. The European Union has fined the company 3 times in recent years for violating its competition laws through its conduct in comparison shopping, online advertising, and mobile operating systems. But Google has escaped any serious sanctions in its own country. That would be America. The FTC closed an antitrust investigation into the company in 2013 without pressing charges over anti-competitive conduct, though agency staff had recommended it at that time. Let's do that again. In 2013, who was president in 2013? Who was best friends with the fellow from Google and the fellows from Facebook and had meetings with him on a regular basis? Could it possibly be that he didn't want his best friends to get in trouble, even though the agency staff had recommended it at the time? Oh, yes, but he was as pure as the wind-driven snow. Multiple attorney general, including Racine of Utah, Sean Reyes, have asked the FTC to reopen that investigation, which focused on Google's search policies. Because guess what? Obama's not president anymore. They declined to reopen the investigation at the time that the General Racine and I asked them to, Reyes said on Monday. The EU then issued fines and sanctions based on those very same complaints and concerns. And I'll just leave it at that. So even though Obama's team wouldn't do anything, Europe is like, hey, come here. We's going to have a little talk and you's going to leave with a little bit less money. Racine added that while they plan to cooperate with the federal agencies, the group won't settle for any course of action that may fall short of what the states think need to be done. We're going to do what we think is right based on our investigation. The balance of power, bleh. Okay, time as almost every state is investigating for potential monopolistic behavior. They go into a lot more detail of the money. Let's see. This one also lays out the actual fines. Europe's antitrust regulators slapped Google with $1.7 billion fine in March for unfairly inserting exclusivity clauses into contracts with advertisers, disadvantaging rivals in the online ad business, to which Google lied about to Congress. One outcome antitrust regulators might explore is forcing Google to spin off search as a separate company. Experts say regulators also could focus on areas such as Google's popular video site YouTube, an acquisition Google scored in 2006. European regulators have fined Google $5 billion for tactics involving Android, finding that Google forced smartphone makers to install Google apps, thereby expanding its reach. Same thing Microsoft got nailed for in the 90s. Google had since allowed more options for alternative browser and search apps to European Android phones, not the U.S. ones. The U.S. Justice Department opened a sweeping investigation of big tech companies this summer, looking at whether their online platforms have hurt competition. Of course they have, because they gobbled them up. Suppressed innovation because they gobbled them up, or otherwise harmed consumers. They steal all our data and sell it like the slave market of the 1800s, or 1619 for you New York Times fans. The Federal Trade Commission has been conducting its own competition probe of big tech as the House Judiciary Committee on Antitrust. So we'll see how that turns out. So the moral of the story is, it looks like the party is over for Google and Facebook, if only through the annoyance that so many other businesses have to deal with, which is they're just going to come after you, and they're telling you they're going to come after you, and they're going to look for whatever they can find, because it will lead where it leads. So they're going to have to spend a fortune on lawyers. They're going to have to spend a bunch of money on not doing what their business is. And again, while I support the action, it's the methods that are just, it's really, for those of us who love 1776, it is so hard to imagine the Founding Fathers going, and someday I hope this sprawls into a mess that King George would have only dreamed of. Yeah, that really wasn't on their list of things. That's why they wrote everything in a manner to restrict government. But it's been 200 and almost 50 years, and those days are gone. Anyways, we hope you enjoyed the content, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, come on back anytime. You're always welcome here as part of the family, and we'll see you in the future.